Welcome back to the channel and to part 6 of the video series on the Opel Manta project. In this video I just wanted to show you guys the interior strip of the Manta, as I've gone a little further back than I initially intended. The reason for stripping out the interior is not only to fit the Recaros seats and now test fit the subframes that I've now got, but of course I'm doing the transmission tunnel, converting it from its original 4-speed position to 5-speed. So I'll just show you the tunnel top here. So you've seen this before. It is basically just replacing the that's in here, and I'm going to try and cut it out to the original line as smoothly as possible, and obviously prep this one to get it to that point where I can either weld or rivet it in. Of course the carpet does have to come out to do that, and it's easy on a Manta. You just take out the plastic side trims or kick plates, whatever you call them. The kick plates are actually already out on this car. I've got some custom made aluminium ones to go in, basically on the finished product, so the cardboard ones I could just keep for future posterity, or sell them on or something. I did end up taking the bottom of the dashboard off as well, as I wanted to make a few adjustments to the wiring, which again on the Manta is actually quite simple. There's only one wire that comes across this side, which is this one here, which goes to the interior light door opener switch. Next to that is the power. We've got power lead for the clock. I think the radio might even be spliced off that. I'm not sure, so I don't actually have any existing wiring to show you on there. The whole heater and HVAC they call it, but no Mantas apart from European ones come with air conditioning. There's one in England I know of. That's the guy I bought this car off of, actually his Manta. He retrofitted a left-hand drive air conditioning system into his right-hand drive car when absolutely balls out getting it done, and this was years ago, and he's still got the car now. I'll give you a closer look under here, just in case if you're working on a Manta Ascona Cavalier project yourself, just to show you the routes a few of the cables take. So this is where I've already shown you to do the door opener interior light thing. This is actually a cable for the heater flap adjuster, the interior one, which directs it up to the windows, your feet, or the dashboard. That plastic unit sits here, which I've removed for the moment, and the cable just fits into the side of it there. Here's the other wiring I was telling you about. This is the handbrake light. Comes just back here, down on the tunnel. Yeah, that's the one I've already showed you, power lead and ground lead for the clock, and I assume that's got something to do with the speaker or radio, but not too sure there. The speedo cable, that's this thing here, so you can see it coming through the bulkhead there on the left hand side. It comes all the way up here. It was a little pinched under here earlier, but what I'll probably do is try and secure it under this. This is the opposite side of the heater area of the bulkhead, and yeah, that this feeds up here to the back of the clocks. Whether it's routed like that on all of the models, I'm not sure, but this is where it is on mine. And like I say, I'll just so it's not hanging down like this, I'll probably just somehow attach it under here. Now you can see all the glue residue and this foam. This did actually have this pad, made of similar material to the kick plates, but I'll probably just get some of the sort of Dynamat type of stuff and put that on there instead. This car also does have the choke mounting point. All of the cars, such as the Cavalier, the Mark 1 Cavalier that I had, didn't, and some earlier Mantas didn't, even though this is an early Manta, so I think it's a little bit hit and miss whether you have that choke mounting point or not. But that is the OE position for a choke on the Manta. Of course, most Mantas were, if it wasn't the fuel injected GTE, they used automatic chokes. So these pads here, this is between the carpet and the floor. However, inside the car there is actually the Dynamat style sound deadening. It's something I did want to show you actually, because it's quite funny. Now I've taken this front piece of carpet out, the Manta's carpet is in 2 sections, so it makes it a lot easier to get out, and yeah, this is hanging on by a thread actually, but you do sort of loop it over the middle bit. If you did have the gear stick there, you can just sort of separate this either side of it, and it is splitting here. I think it's supposed to be joined like that, so I might repair that when I give it a good cleaning. But yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. So remember that Manta's it's an Opel platform. It's originally designed to be a left-hand drive car, so this would have been the pedal box area on the original car, and you can see on the other side here you've got the lumps in the floor pan. So check this out. Oops, a bit of wood. Right, so this is the sound deadening piece that I was telling you about. So there's basically go in the footwells of the rear. So it's those 2 that I've just showed you go under the seats, and this one here, yeah, as well as the other side, is under the floor. Hey, look at that. Ugh, feels horrible. Yeah, so you can see what the original floor area looks like. I keep finding these little labels falling off things as well, so I'll try and keep these if I can, and see what they go with. Ugh. And with this off as well, you can see a little bit of surface rust coming through here, so I'm going to rub this down and treat it. It's not particularly, well, there's nothing on the other side, but yeah, I'll just get rid of this because in case it gets worse. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so the throttle cable's not attached. Look, that's so we've got a throttle cable in place, it's just not attached to the pedal, and the clutch doesn't look right because you can see that it's sticking up a long way from the other one, so that's going to need adjusting. If the spring even in the right place, I'm not sure. What the hell is that? Must be a clutch wear sensor. So I've heard about those, but so that's your brake light switch there. So I assume that's like a wear sensor for the clutch. Once the pedal comes up, but you sort of feel it in the clutch anyway, so you don't really need things like that. Yeah, I'll figure that out. You can see this is where it's had repairs before. Like there's some where is it? There's some weld here, look. And on the other side, we'll zoom in. So that's had a couple of plates in the footwell area. Right, so we're in here to compare the new transmission tunnel with the original. But it is time for another Rig's top tips, and that's if you ever see any companies throwing these away. This is basically a fire blanket, the type you see in the little boxes in kitchens that you just supposed to pull down on if somebody sets himself on fire while they're, I don't know, microwaving a hamburger or something. But yeah, this is the perfect thing to have if you're going to be angle grinding near glass, or obviously in an interior of your car. It's also for welding, because basically the welding spark or angle grinder sparks won't penetrate this, and it will protect your glass and what's left of the dashboard in here from damage. If you've ever welded or angle ground near glass, and that actually puts tiny little dots of rust into the glass because it melts the glass, sits in there and goes rusty. So that's something you definitely want to avoid. So the main differences between the transmission tunnels, apart from the obvious with the location of the gear stick hole being lower, you've got this hole here is just set over to the right for some reason. These two grommets are to accept the plastic transmission tunnel cover, what do you call it, centre console, which look like they just slot into here on this one. And then I think this is it, because this is slightly off to the slightly off to the right. This is also part of fitting the centre console on, which we have on here, so it's a good sort of guide to know where to put it. So there, is it? Yeah, that looks right. So it's actually going about there, which is yeah, so if I cut out most of this, and then that way I could probably use that as a template for this underside one, but yes, a bit of fettling to do. It's got a little late now, so I'm not sure how much of this is going to show through very well on camera, but what I've ended up doing is starting to strip the original sound deadening off, and I'll just have to get replacement sound deadening mats like we've got here and here, just for the transmission tunnel. Once this is on, I actually decided to paint it. As what I ended up doing was going through the painstaking, and I mean literally painstaking, as I gashed my arm open on it, cutting out all of the spot welds, because this is actually spot welded. This would have been a fairly original, apart from the bottom bit is missing. This is actually how the GM panel would have looked when it was modified to become a 5-speed car. So I've actually tried to make a template. Pop this down, it's still a bit wet. So I've tried to make a template here, but a lot of the holes I was going to use to locate it, so obviously it'd be on top of the transmission tunnel straight. They do seem to be in different places between the two cars, so as in a 70s and 80s spec transmission tunnels. I'll just have to line it up a bit more carefully and measure twice, cut once, and all that crap. Once that's done, I'll have quite a large hole actually in the top of the transmission tunnel, so I'll be able to easily fit the new gear linkage and stick there, and I might have to sort of half put the this section in as I put in the gear stick, just to save myself some effort. And then because I've painted it now, it's probably not going to be weld through, and I'm not sure if I'm going to need any welding gear for this project at all. So I do have the seat runners, or seat frames, whatever you like to call them, and I'm not sure how much adaptation they need, and whether that will need welding. So there is still a potential there for welding, but I think what I'm going to do here is end up using the bonding agent and maybe 6 rivets, and that just to hold it in place. And I think a bonding agent will be a must actually, because the original part had seam sealer on it, so it was only spot welded all the way around the outside here, and then seam sealed on top of that. So if I use a bonding agent instead, that will still make it watertight, and then I'll just have a few rivets to secure it, drilled through the top of the original metal here into this panel. The lip on the edge, if you can see it here, that'll actually sit underneath, so that's why I started to paint it, because I just treated it for rust, and then put some it's just black, like hammerite style paint. It's not proper under seal, but once it is sealed in place, I can see if I can just reach around the gearbox and get some proper under seal on there. Not that this car's ideally going to see much wet weather or anything like that. The top part had areas of rust, so I just decided to keep painting over the top. It's probably a bit silly really, because the inside of it here isn't going to actually have any elements attacking it. It's just in between these bits here. So yeah, and of course the colour won't match, but I have treated the bits of rust here that I showed you on the outer sill here, so that's just got the rust converter, cure rust, on there. Sorry, it's going a bit out of focus. And then I'll just put a bit of black paint over the top there just to freshen it up. And then there was a little more in the sort of pedal box area, so a bit more around here, look, and that, which is one of the seat rail mounting areas of the car, and it all seems to be on this driver's side as well. The passenger side is clean as a whistle. There's a little bit settling around here, which is where you've got the front anchor points for the seat frames as well. So yeah, there are areas of the car that you don't want to go rusty, and of course this whole shell is as near as damn it's solid, so I don't want any I need to nip basically any early signs of rust in the bud. Yeah, I think that wraps it up for now, and thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.